Good afternoon. A warm welcome to all the elite technology leaders of IT industry who has joined us now and participating in this webinar. Transforming challenges into opportunities for the manufacturing industry. Hope you all are safe, healthy and fit. Working from home or office during this pandemic and uncertain period. Now the key challenges which we all are concerned about are unpredicted revenue and cash flow, human productivity and manpower motivation, operational changes, optimal production and to reduce wastage, supply chain, workforce rebalancing, equipment maintenance, manufacturing ecosystem connect and collaboration, and overall the government compliance. Friends, let us start this fireside chat focusing on transforming these challenges which I spoke about into opportunities for our IT leadership and the IT department. Now is the time for change and we all should relook for the new normal. Myself Prasenjit Mukherjee, CIO and CMO of Team Computers, moderating this fireside chat, and today I have with me three seasoned, eminent and industry respected CIOs, Mr. Anand Sengupta, Mr. Atul Govil and Mr. Suresh Iyer. Further, we also have with us industry respected first generation of IT entrepreneur, MD and CEO of Team Computers, Mr. Ranjan Chopra. Well, Mr. Ranjan Chopra, 1983 IIT Kanpur techie, a business leader, a mentor, a musician, and an artist at heart. An angel investor, a farmer, what he says, and a social worker, a forerunner in this IT industry, spearheading passionately the business of Team Computers for last 32 years with pride and honor. Welcome, Mr. Ranjan Chopra.
Thank you, Prasenjit.
Now we have Mr. Anand Sengupta, who is the CIO South Asia Pacific at Carrier. It is not the end user air conditioning carrier, but more on the business side. Now, Mr. Anand Sengupta is an industry veteran having more than 28 years of professional experience across organizations like Jubilant Organicis, Daikin, and United Technologies, contributing to the IT industry, a great IT leader focusing on business need and driving productivity. Welcome, Mr. Anand Sengupta.
Thank you, Prasenjit.
Next in line, we have Mr. Atul Govil, Chief Transformation Officer and IT Head for ANSAP for India Glycols. Mr. Atul Govil has more than 22 years of IT leadership experience, a member of Risk Management Committee at India Glycols. Great. Driving business transformation projects. He has more than 10 years of experience in industrial automation and controls. And he is also one of the board members of Indus, which is Indian Users of SAP. Welcome, Mr. Atul Govil.
Thank you, Prasenjit. Thank you, Ranjan, for having us. Thank you.
And next in line is Mr. Suresh Iyer. Who doesn't know him? CIO of Blue Star Limited. Mr. Suresh Iyer is a detail-oriented IT leader having more than 30 years of industry experience, a digital transformation tech leader who is well known in the IT community for calling spade a spade. Welcome, Mr. Suresh Iyer.
Yeah.
Okay, now to start this fireside chat, I will open with a question which is open for all three of you, and later on I will come to Mr. Ranjan Chopra. But we'll start with Mr. Anand Sengupta. Mr. Sengupta, how prepared were you and your team to switch over to the new normal? Please emphasize on the collaboration tools which you have adopted, the employee productivity side, security, and the business continuity.
Okay, thank you. I hope my voice is clear, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, Prasenjit, thank you for a very amazing introduction. Okay, so now how we were prepared. So there are multiple components. One is collaboration platform, a complete and back-to-back connected value chain system. From a collaboration and WFH, work from home structure, we were pretty structured because we do have the concept of work from home, normal circumstances. We have the security infra in place, yes, but we kind of, our global headquarters were very fast in rolling out other tools like Zooms and the WebEx. So that was not a challenge as far as the working from home is concerned. We were pretty well prepared, but there were some jobs which were typically desktop related, be it the workstations of the engineering center or be it the manufacturing line, where you cannot, you have to be physically present. Now that we were good at, and we were fairly, like I would say in a scale of 1 to 100, we were 70% prepared. There was small hiccups which we managed, and we managed to address that. But the problem that we faced was that although we have different silos of systems existing, but they are not connected. And automation, so be it complete from a supply chain to my back office, the ideal scenario is having automation system in place, a paperless office, because when you're working from home, then where you are and how you just be connected to the system. Now, we were not prepared on that. Yes, and that created some challenges, absolutely, yes. Although it's not that, the thing was we had the core ERP, we had the CRM, we had a sort of manufacturing system, but were they talking to others seamlessly? No, they were not. They were not. And being part of a discrete manufacturing, as Prasenjit you mentioned, we are more into B2B sector, where we supply air conditioning plants and systems to commercial establishment. We were also exempted as part of essential services because we got some orders from health services, hospitals, and some way to support them. My service team was there. So obviously, because air conditioning was running, the temperature was going up. So the operations were there, started slowly, we scaled up. And with a very robust EHS policy, we were good from that aspect. But yes, automation and connectivity of the value chain system, there is a gap. And that's the thing which we have to look into.
So is that the only challenge what you are facing during this COVID period? Or there is something else what you foresee?
So from a system and application landscape, this was one challenge, absolutely. The other is, working from home and ensuring productivity of employees. So I take care of, entities outside, apart from India, Southeast Asia Pacific, they come under my, I'm in charge for their operations. And so we were kind of, as a leadership team, we tried to make sure that the involvement and which we never did that kind of, giving tasks, weekly reviews, meetings to make sure that productivity is not, is there at what is the best it could be. Because working from home for some people, it was a challenge, obviously, with the limitation of, being at home, and with this COVID crisis, they had the domestic chores to take care of, official chores, and you have endless working time. So there were challenges, absolutely. But we made it we gave them leverage. We kind of kept connected to ensure the productivity is at least not going down at a stable level. So we did fairly good in supporting the team, and the back office and my team specifically. Kind of, now business was slow. So whatever projects which were on hold, I asked them to accelerate and kind of get them delivered ASAP, because the business was, literally near zero from, so that is, so it was, I would not say something kind of boon, but yes, absolutely. We kind of made some good progress in some of the projects which were being held up for various reasons. So yes, that was another reason that, managing the employees in a remote needs different skill sets and a different SOP to manage them.
Agree. Good insight. Atul, I'll come to you now. How were you and your team prepared for this particular new normal for your business of India Glycos?
Thank you, Prasenjit. I think I'll start off with something which is a great positive. Okay, so that no, we also talk about what good things we did during this lockdown situation. So what we did, I would say, I would not call it unique, but slightly different than many others was that no, we within our internal team, the development team, I told them that no, in the next 1 month or so, because the lockdown was announced on 23rd of March, and initially it was for 3 weeks and then it was extended. So during the lockdown period, I told them that no, you need to just focus on building applications on Python. So before that, none of them were aware of how do we leverage Python for automation, for the MMI part.
Mhm.
All that was Greek for them.
Okay.
But then during this period, we actually acquired that knowledge, and now at least 4 to 5 of our individuals have become very well oriented on Python, and they've been able to do much of work which many of these RPA tools are offering at a premium. So we have been able to do all that trial. So that's something good which we have done within the enterprise. Besides that, no, I would also like to highlight that before the lockdown was announced on 23rd, we actually constituted a steering committee of comprising of all business and unit heads. So it was not just around the sales head or the marketing head. We also had the unit heads, the manufacturing unit heads, being a part of the steering committee, and we had every day on a daily basis. No, we had this meeting to identify associated risk with this virus thing, and then we also jotted down on our plans to manage them. Not everything was perceived on during those days, but one of the real risks which we thought through was what would we do in case of a complete lockdown. So we thought through, and basis that no, what we also made sure that no, we at least the bare minimum team members are provisioned with laptops or their office desktops with Wi-Fi enablement, so that they would be able to work from home if the need arises. And unfortunately, it happened, and then we were in a complete lockdown state. But then we actually were not, we had not thought through that no, this would go on for almost 60 days now, 2 months. That's something which we had not thought through. Then during the period, we also had issues around logistics. How do we make sure that other members who were required to make some financial entries because of the period closure and other activities, how would that happen? And then besides that, no, we are in a industry vertical wherein we also make medical oxygen and other pharma intermediates. We also make hand sanitizers. So we qualify, so to say, under essential commodities. At least some section of our organization qualify under the essential commodities. So we also had to make sure that we get the team available in the plant also, because you something which has to be done on the plant, on the shop floor, you can't work from home for that aspect. And then
True.
that was a big change management, because it was not just around the individual sphere, their family fears. So we had to overcome, we had to make sure that we provision all the social distancing norms, all the aspects which were there in the MHA guidelines. Those were all taken care before we started the plan. So those were all real issues. And besides that, from a technology standpoint, we were using Zoom for collaboration. But then later, when the fears around Zoom started surfacing, we immediately leveraged MS Teams, and now across the enterprise, we are leveraging MS Teams on a daily basis, and including our chairman, who's actively involved in these meetings as we speak.
Okay.
And then besides that, we were already using these SSL VPN connects to connect user system remotely. So we've kind of expanded those number of licenses. However, from a challenge standpoint, I must very candidly state that no, productivity measurement in a work from home scenario is a challenge. And in the last 1 week, we have kind of rolled out one solution to do some kind of an assessment of what exactly an individual is doing, how many hours an individual is putting on what applications. So that's something which we are working on, and it's already 1 week we have started doing it. Maybe in a week or two, we'll get to know the outcomes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. I think with your thought leadership, you have already prepared yourself and your team and the organization to move ahead in the business.
Yeah.
Thanks. Suresh, I will come to you now. Okay. What was your take during the switchover phase, and how prepared was Blue Star under your leadership?
Oh, thanks, Prasenjit. And first of all, a good afternoon to everybody out here. Thanks for joining in. Blue Star, as you know, is a 76-year-old company. It's a pretty legacy and traditionally brick and mortar kind of a company. And many of the old values still persist. Okay. I don't think we are completely technology savvy, although we have implemented a lot of digital over the last few years. But people still are used to the old ways to a large extent. Okay, so there is a certain culture there which I wanted to bring to context first. Okay. Second, coming to this pretty specific challenges which have been created by this present situation, I don't think any organization is ever going to be ready for something like this in totality. Primarily because of the scope of this, the magnitude of this, as well as the extended durations which we are seeing and the unpredictability of what may happen. So there is still a lot of scope out there to do things. But this is one area where I think, or one specific event which I think IT was not caught unprepared.
Okay.
I think IT was, in this case, was perhaps the first of the starter block to start anticipating a potential closure. Okay. In fact, as early as the first week of March, we started first assessing our own ability to work from home. My whole team, okay, the IT team itself, what were our challenges, what were our handicaps, and what do we need to enable? So we enabled ourselves first. And then we started enabling the systems as well. So we did our trial runs, we did our dry runs, we did all kinds of simulations. And you know what? When we started mentioning this to the organization, many people were actually astounded that we are thinking in this direction. But once they started adding it up, they suddenly realized that this is something which is a reality. And that's when the users started coming to the party as well. So our third phase of enablement was making sure that the users were also able to do what they had to do from home. I think Anand mentioned about certain systems, and he also mentioned about design related software. The lockdown was from 23rd of March. 20th of March, Friday, we were sitting in my office trying to figure out one last aspect, which was a challenge, is in terms of how do we enable our designers, our product designers, as well as our AutoCAD, the people who work on project who use AutoCAD, how will they work from home? How will they continue the design? Because they don't have workstations at home, right? Nor can you carry it. Most of it is
And also the bandwidth will be required for that.
Absolutely. So the third aspect was the bandwidth as well. But you know what? This is where I really thank the team which I have. We put on a thinking cap and we actually brought in some ways and means where they didn't have to have the workstation at home, but still able to access the workstation in office. The only aspect was boosting their bandwidth, which we did in the next 3 days, thanks to the combined efforts of both the divisions as the departments as well as us. We were able to get them operational on 23rd March. And frankly speaking, the whole journey, the transition from office to home was so seamless that I think IT really stood out in this company for a change, as the people who actually came forward and did things. So on one hand, I'm pretty happy about what we did and the fact that we were planning for it and we made sure that we were there. Of course, there were a lot of challenges and challenges will continue to remain. I think the productivity aspect is still a question mark. I don't think we have got an answer on it. But one thing which came out clearly is in the last 5 years, whatever we have done to change, or the changes which we have done in our infrastructure, application landscape, the kind of applications we had, where we were hosting them, all of them actually came together in this particular instant. Because what we found out was 90% was accessible through the internet. Mm-hmm. And the remaining 10% were accessible through the VPN. So for us, it was not planned in that direction, but it fell into that segment, that realization that yes, we have got that ability as well. And thanks to tools such as Zoom, the collaboration was literally a piece of cake. I mean, everything was seamless. None of our project activities stopped. None of our product development activities stopped. Everything was going on smoothly from wherever they were. Of course, there was a lockdown. There was the biggest, saddest part in this whole thing is perhaps the fact that Blue Star has got a very seasonal kind of business. And the period March to May is the peak season for us. And we actually have lost advantage of that. And that perhaps is going to have a bigger impact on our operations in the coming days. So overall, I think IT for once stood out in terms of its readiness and its ability to facilitate this change. And I think we are continuing to make waves in the organization with some of the things which we have been rolling out to further facilitate in the new way of doing things.
In fact, the role of IT has actually increased, where
Absolutely.
IT is wearing different caps now. It may be a cap of a technology leader, a cap of a HR cap also. How to motivate the people, how to see the engagement of the different workforce. Okay, the
Absolutely.
business cap, the learning and development. Are the people working from home? Are they learning anything? Doing some kind of a environment where they start learning things.
Employee engagement, Prasenjit.
Yeah.
That has become one of the biggest advantages where we were able to use some of our platforms to make sure that we were able to communicate with employees, educate them,
Yep.
ease their mindset in this troubled times, make sure they are aware of what is to be done, even in case of illness or if they are called at a site where they have to go but they don't know how to. So all of those actually came together for us.
Right. Great, great, Suresh. Now I will change the camera towards, shift the camera towards or focus towards Mr. Ranjan Chopra. Like as an enterprise, they have already made the changes. They were ready. How, as team computers, what I know that the maturity or the digital mature practice what team computers has, how did we change or switch in this new normal period? I would love to hear from you.
So, like what most people here have mentioned, most of the panelists, we were disruption thoda bahut hua, So otherwise, we had to buy like about 100 odd notebook because almost everybody was already mobile. We had very few desktops or workstations, so uh, there were bandwidth issues, getting Geo and Geo Fiber going for some key members who were going to use Hangouts a lot. We were very Google Hangout focused, and all of a sudden I've used, and we have used now Zoom, we've used Microsoft Meets, we've used Cisco WebEx, and,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
So many different kinds, and all of them are nice and good and great. Like Atul mentioned, we had to get in a few more VPN licenses ourselves. And Suresh talked about his team, Atul talked about his team being available. I realized that we have a really good IT team. And they were able to kind of, for a national operation, because, we operate in about close to 100 locations now, and keeping the national setup going. And the other thing was that we expected business to kind of go down, and surprisingly, April for us, a very new sector. So banks, some of the banks, private sector banks, Stanchart, Yes Bank, they all opened up and they wanted devices. And the ITES companies, they kind of opened up and they wanted like thousands of devices. So Apple notebooks, Lenovo, Dell, HP, all of them, whatever we could get our hands on. So it wasn't like back to back, up order do, fir hum denge. Tere paas kya pada hai? Whatever we could get our hands on, we picked it up and kind of delivered. Our engineers, they kind of braved the police कि आप कौन हो, कहाँ से आ रहे हो, motorcycle छीन लिया, and then we had to get it back. We had to work through weekends, Sundays. Mumbai customs, the ship came in, some 2,000 containers. उसमें से अपना container निकालना है, and deliver it. So all that challenges were very interesting. The good part is we had a very good April. We had an even better May. We've never had such a good May. And we'll have a decent June. I'm worried about domino effect later in the year, towards OND, October, November, December, what's going to happen? Because next quarter is going to be fine. He mentioned, Suresh mentioned, and I guess it's true for Anand also, that missing the summer season in the hospitality businesses, so at Zorba and at Hula, we had bookings which got cancelled. We lost a lot of money and we went through some losses there. But by the way, the good news is yesterday morning, so everything has changed. We did our first wedding. It was a South Indian wedding, started at 7 a.m. and it finished at 12 a.m. So savere hua, and it was very interesting. Everybody had masks on, colorful masks, and all bridal clothes, and we couldn't serve food because it's not allowed, but we had food boxes and everybody took a food box and went away. So the new normal for hospitality is still being discovered. We're still figuring it out. The new normal for our business is everything. And, you know, when we had to supply in a banking system, bank guarantees and everyone, all the banks, they supported us. So we had EBGs, you know, bank guarantee. Everybody kind of settled in and they said it's fine. So I think we've kind of, so far so good, you know, because every day things are changing. I'm watching the summer temperature in the north. Here in Delhi, it's at 46 now. And I think this weekend it should start dropping. Overall, nationally, I've seen a drop in the last 3 days. We're staying alert. I don't think we can be fearful. Fear ko thoda dur rakhna.
The show must go on.
Yeah. Personally, I wanted to share one thing. You know, one thing I wanted to do for so many years, and I was avoiding, which was meditation. So everything else I was doing. Meditation, jo hai, arey baithenge, you know, the mind is so active. We are not used to the mind becoming restful. Now, Guruji, Sri, twice a day, 12 se 12:30 in the daytime, 7:30 to 8 in the night. I have been meditating twice daily, and that has made so much of a change. And I've got a couple of books for the panelists, you know, which is going to be on using different parts of the mind. There's a focused mind to solve a problem, and there's a diffused mind for creative thinking. Both are necessary. And I found my answer that by meditation, I can easily achieve my diffused mind. So I walked a lot. I spent more time with my wife than the last 30 years.
Suresh also, yeah. He's
Hey,
really
no, I just wanted to add something to what Ranjan said. Ranjan, since you mentioned Sri, you know, they are also, Art of Living is offering a 4-day program online, 2 hours every day to understand and learn Sudarshan Kriya. If you have not done it, you may want to do it. It's a brilliant thing. And that can further facilitate your meditation process.
So Suresh, I am like a postgraduate in Art of Living.
Wow, there you go.
So Guruji sometimes comes and stays with us, and नहीं भी करो तो करना पड़ता है, no, diffusion हो जाता है.
Okay, great, Ranjan, thanks. Well, the digital transformation projects, which were a long-term strategy for all of us, okay, for maximum of enterprises, has now become very, very imminent and the need of the hour. Okay, the things what we were planning that will bring in AR, will bring in VR, will bring in IoT, all things. So, okay, now this has become very, very imminent for us. Anand, please elaborate your plans on key strategy initiatives like digital factory, which might include robotics, AR for shop floor equipment maintenance.
Okay. So, you know, in one of the meetings, internal meetings, I kind of started the meeting with, and I received a WhatsApp forward which said, which is the key factor to drive digital transformation in companies? And the answer to that was the COVID crisis. COVID crisis has actually driven digital transformation. Having said this, so it's not that we have a well laid out plan for digital factory and supply chain automation and, you know, internal IoT system, but they were on different stage of maturity and different process. There was not, you know, I would not say there was a plan over the next 2 years. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware. Carrier was initially part of United Technologies, the global conglomerate, so 60 billion company. Now, last month in April, there was a spin-off, and the sister concerns like the Carrier and Otis and the aerospace business were separate companies in the New York Stock Exchange. So there was some internal changes happened from organizational standpoint. No direct effect on the operations or anything, because Otis was where it is, Carrier is where it is, and aerospace was completely different. But having said this, yes, you know, things were slightly put on the roadmap was being worked out. So now going forward, yes, what is the challenge? The things are in place, the products are there. in different stages of maturity, there would be definitely cost pressures, because kind of 2-3 months, there has been 1.5 months, there's been hardly any business. Even factory was closed. So that is a challenge where we have to balance and identify the critical aspects and, you know, kind of put it back into track, and we have to see, kind of prioritize. Coming to maintenance. Now, being a district manufacturing, we are not a very complicated manufacturing process. Suresh would know, it's more of air conditioning, more of assembling, a stable supply chain, and whatever automation at different stages assembly line is there, frankly. It's there. It's not that we are, you know, completely automated, but whatever possible it is to be automated, it is there. Automation and IoT for maintenance of the system, yes, that is something is there, and probably that is something which we would have to look into it, and one of the highest priority going forward. Some of the and obviously the value chain automation. So not a very complex manufacturing as compared to, say, for example, Atul's. It's basically it's process manufacturing, and you need time to start up the plant, and it would run. It's time to shut down, and the complete thing. And I have been working in one of their sister concern I mentioned before, the Jubilant and initial part. So there is slight in our case, yes, it is less complicated than automobile manufacturing, and there are. But yes, the Q quality and the testing is something, yes, that becomes very critical. So this is the plan that we have to reprioritize what we have to do for balance of the year, space it out, especially with the cost pressures. And hopefully now there has been a realization, like IT, in Carrier, we don't call it the IT, we call it the digital technology, we call it the DTs. The DT team is kind of all geared up, and people have realized that DT has a major role to play in a typically engineering industry, similar to what Suresh mentioned, where, you know, we are also, although we are based out of headquarters of America, but the problems still remain, you know, the typically manufacturing company. But yes, absolutely, digital transformation is where the buck is going to happen. When, we'll see, we don't know. There's still uncertainties, but we'll rebuild our priorities hopefully in June and set the roadmap going forward. I hope that answers the question, Prasenjit.
Yeah, I have a question put up by one of the participants, Mr. Vimal Puri, who is CIO of SRF. Anand, can you just tell me, like, what solutions you are using, if at all, on your shop floor to manage social distancing?
So okay. So there was another question. I saw another question. So social distancing. So now social distancing, we so first month, I think lockdown 1.0 and 2.0, there was nobody. Factory was closed, only bare minimum security, and there was thankfully a technology guy who was nearby who would drop in to see everything is working fine. So that was because we have also on-prem servers. From a social distancing standpoint, we had done the basics, nothing complicated. We had suppose 3 lines running, and we said, okay, alternate line will run. We would obviously, we scaled down the volumes. We made sure the distance, one station, manufacturing station to another is maintained. You know, so we kind of spread it apart. Obviously, that kind of pulled down our manufacturing output, but we did it in a basic way of, you know, okay, this distance, this much distance has to be there, mask, gloves has to be there. That was frankly not a big challenge for us, because, you know, we had to manage a line. The challenge which came during operation was managing the field service people who were going for customer calls. Mm-hmm. You can't say hospital calls my ACs, I have a problem. You say, no, we are on lockdown. So, and for some places where, so we had a well laid down procedure, how the person comes in, temperature is being taken, safety precautions going, no sharing of, cafeteria was closed, box lunch was given. So all that stuff was done. So, and obviously we slowly, today also we are 33%, I think, 33% of the total factory staff working, 33 to 40%. So that's how we have been operating. So there was frankly no major challenge, and there was no automation or something which was there. It was basic,
Okay. Okay.
just to mention. That's how we managed it.
Suresh, thanks, Anand. Suresh, I will come back to you. Have you implemented something for the social distancing for your shop floor?
Okay. For us, we have already implemented an IoT solution in our factory. Okay?
Yeah, that was my next question, Suresh. That what all things automation you have brought in for your shop floor to increase sales? Okay.
So, okay, I think it may be a little bit more convoluted than that. So if I start, see, I'm just going to dovetail into your earlier question, Prasenjit, so that it makes it a very holistic answer. I think one interesting thing which has happened thanks to this whole lockdown or the post-lockdown is that suddenly, as Anand also mentioned, IT or digital is suddenly becoming prominent. I think earlier phases were more IT-led digital transformation, but what I'm seeing right now is a business-led digital transformation. And that has got immense advantages because here you will now get more adoption of your systems and perhaps more opportunities for digitalization as well, because that has always been the stumbling block every single time, getting businesses to adopt digital and get benefits out of it. But we are seeing a drastic change in that behavior right now, thanks to the usage of technology at home and being independent and running Zoom kind of technologies. I think people have started realizing that. So that's one big change which is helping. So I'll put our transformation projects under three buckets. One is what was already started and been implemented. And there is a reason why I'm going to bring that a small perspective into that. Second is the immediate needs which we had to deliver. And third is the more of a far-term thing. The far-term thing is the easiest thing to answer. We have nothing on radar for far-term. As of now, everything is parked because we still don't know what is going to happen. So we are completely focused on the first two areas which I mentioned. The first area was what I said about past. See, we had put in place an IoT even for our chillers, where we were doing remote monitoring of all. It's been there for the last 3 years. Then we put in an IoT in our factory. All our factories have been automated with this solution, and everything happens remotely. You really don't, except for the material switching of the material or moving a material across or doing some physical checks. Everything else, they get visibility as to what is happening there. Okay. Then there is also a number of other solutions which we had deployed. Now, suddenly what happened is, thanks to this, all these solutions became pretty much the need of the hour. The IoT for our chillers, well, it was being very sparsely used. It was not exactly seen as a very major intervention. But in the last 4 weeks, because nobody is able to go to a customer site, and in those places, especially as Anand mentioned, hospitals and certain essential areas, even the banks for that matter, we could do servicing even from these remote, from a remote location. We didn't have to physically go there. It is only when we had to put in needed a physical intervention like a gas replacement or a gas charging or maybe a part replacement. Otherwise, everything was happening remotely. So that suddenly took off in a big way for us. Okay, so the investment suddenly starts looking real now. Okay. From a social distancing perspective in our factory, the IoT part is playing a major role. Of course, we did have a couple of our factories still doing production, thanks to the fact that we were doing cold rooms and deep freezers, which are fundamentally used in mortuaries as well as your pharmacy, pharma applications. Okay, but we were still following the norm of allowing only 33% into any of these factories. So what we were doing was, we didn't have any specific solution other than this IoT piece, but we were not having all the assembly lines operational at any one point in time. We only had alternate lines operational, so that itself allowed us to maintain certain amount of distance. And then we had actually deployed in 3 days an app which allowed us to ensure that anybody entering the factory, his health parameters were checked, logged, and we were able to do contact tracing if required. So we had put in the prerequisites in place in a pretty fast time. So our factory was fully enabled in that sense. And even now we have moved, in some factories, we have moved to a little bit higher level of production. Still, so far, we are seeing that the IoT solution is proving to be of immense use, because see, we are able to now reduce non-essential staff from coming to work, because those guys, especially some of the managers, they can actually monitor what is happening sitting at home. They don't need to be at the site, and that is allowing us flexibility in terms of deciding who needs to come and who doesn't need to come. Okay. Apart from this, as I said, the near term, there were quite a few things which we quickly deployed, because what is happening is this whole aspect called social distancing is applicable even to the products which we sell, right? We no longer have the benefit of a customer standing in front of a product and reviewing. There's no retail store open. So we started quickly deploying certain mobile-based apps for the sales team. We actually did a very interesting app for our entire sales team where, if you remember, if you know the scene, there are some zones which are in red, some which are in green, some which are in amber, okay? And frankly speaking, each state has got its own definition. Nobody knows what the hell is red, amber, and green. It all depends upon what is happening at that particular location, okay? So we needed to know where we could sell, especially in this down market, because we had lost a season where we needed to latch onto any opportunity which we had. So what we did was we developed a very interesting application which allowed our sales guys to actually track all our dealers across these zones and ensure that they got visibility of how much of their targets is at risk and how much is going to be actually realized. Okay, and they were able to quickly switch the targets from dealer A to dealer B depending upon which zone they were in. And we were actually not relying on government information. Thanks to a dealer portal which we had deployed 2 years back, we had made some changes and the dealer himself was flagging himself as open or closed, which allowed us to further make it much more accurate. And today that tool is a brilliant tool. I mean, I'm not saying it because we made it, but because of its the benefits which it's offering the sales team, okay, in order to know how their targets are being aligned and what's that risk, and that's allowing them to predict what their monthly forecasts are to much better extent as compared to just being random about it. And then we connected it back to a bot which we had deployed for our sales team. The bot also tells the sales guy in terms of whether his dealer is open or closed, and therefore how much of his own targets are at risk. And we also connected the warehouse there. Even a warehouse could have been a red, amber, or a green zone. So the supplies could also then impact your sales, right? So we also connected it there. So now the sales guy has complete visibility. Is the target going to be achieved or not? And then the icing on the cake, I'm sure Anand will agree this. Most of the, as far as our industry is concerned, our e-commerce sales are typically a fraction, okay, a very decimal point kind of a number, 1 or 2 percentage points, I would say, okay. Nobody really believed in it, but we had started work on our own e-commerce site some 4 months back, and we are planning to deploy it in for Diwali. But you know what? Thanks to what has happened, we quickly accelerated it, and what we did was we deployed it last week. Wow. And from day one, we are seeing sales. And that is a very interesting outcome for us, because suddenly now what e-commerce was always considered as a low priority channel for us now is becoming a very great channel for us. And hopefully we'll be able to sustain that momentum. So many such things which we did in the near term, which actually made a lot of effect. And that is where I'm saying the business-led transformation is slowly becoming real, because now they are seeing the benefits of many of these things and they're coming forward asking for more. And similarly on the supply chain, we did a similar thing like we did for tracking the sales targets. We are tracking the vendor supplies. So we know whether a vendor is going to be able to supply, whether his factory is able to manufacture, and therefore we are able to control the raw material visibility completely. Okay. And that's helping plan our production.
Great. In fact, Suresh, that's a question again from Mr. Vimal Puri, CIO of SRF. What all options Blue Dart evaluated to enable people to work on design? Blue Star, sorry. Okay. What all options Blue Star evaluated to enable people to work on design?
Okay. As I said, we were at March 20th when this problem came. Till then, we were not been thinking about how to, because we thought it was a very impossible thing to cover. Okay. So we had actually parked that problem. But March 20, we were thrown the gauntlet by management saying that our R&D work is pretty much something which we can't stop. We can't afford any stoppage there. And they were using Pro-E. So me and my team, along with the R&D guys, we were racking our brains. So we had 3 solutions, okay. The easiest solution was take the workstation home and enable their bandwidth such that they could continue to operate. But we ruled it out because your power supply at home may not be great and your workstation may be at risk. Nobody's going to be able to give a decent quality of power supply, especially in Thane, okay. So we didn't want to run that risk. And of course, the IP itself, we didn't want it out of our premises. The second option was using a VDI kind of infrastructure. A couple of our vendors did come forward with a solution where they said they could provide through Amazon an ability with a graphics option, which allows us to access our servers and continue to do the design through normal laptops. Okay. The third, but we again rolled this out because there was a time to deploy and there was a cost as well, which was phenomenal. So we didn't think it was a great option, and we hadn't even done a pilot, so we didn't even know whether it would be feasible or not. But what then turned out was the third option, which was actually the simplest, and frankly speaking, it was zero cost. We used our firewall, we used our actually a VPN, and through that VPN, we are allowing the designer to tunnel into our servers, or rather his workstation. So the workstations are kept on, he's coming into his workstation. It's like, remote desktop service support. Like you go in and fix any desktop remotely. The same concept is being applied here, but it's secure because it's coming through the firewall and through the VPN. And believe it or not, they are getting almost the same level of performance as if they would sit in front of the workstation. The only thing which the two issues which we had to tackle was ensure that all these designers had laptops. So we literally ripped apart our supply of laptops and made sure they got it within 1 day. And second was the bandwidth, which took us a little bit longer. It took us 3 more days. But all of it was done. Monday onwards, lockdown starts, designers were at work. We had a happy set of R&D people.
Okay. And all these things you are supporting on-prem or it is on cloud?
This particular, our PLM, which is where all the design is also hosted, is in our Thane center.
Okay.
It's on-prem.
Okay, on-prem. Oh, okay. I will come to you, Atul, now. Atul, what are those 2 business transformation or IT solutions which you are planning or you are already implementing now? Why and how will it help manufacturing industry like yours?
Yeah, so just to highlight 2 key priorities. So one is like on the physical distancing. I somehow don't like the term social distancing. I would like to term it as physical distancing. So I would say that typically physical distancing, it's easy to maintain in an office setup, but when you get onto a shop floor, particularly in a manufacturing setup, it's really not so easy. It's difficult sometimes. So what we are currently doing is setting up a video analytics based solution wherein using the video stream which is available from the CCTV cameras which are already there. We're not setting up new CCTV cameras, but we are piloting with a AI company to use the same stream and then highlight if there is some kind of a breach. If there are issues of a breach in the physical distancing norms, then it gives an highlight. It gives an alert to the concerned supervisor. So that's something which we are working out, particularly related to COVID.
Okay.
Second, what we have done is in the last 1 month, we have reached out to every department within the enterprise, seeking their inputs on what all aspects to the thing which they are currently, wherein they are currently using paper or maybe using paper workflows, which requires files or documents to move within the office or from one office or one location to another location. It could be the head office or to the government agencies, to identify all such workflows and all such processes and then figure out which ones we can automate in due course of time, depending upon the priority, and also from a government standpoint, we have to take their consent also, whether they are okay with a digital footprint or they still would like to have a paper flow to happen. So these are the 2 things which we are doing currently.
Okay.
That's the core focus. Besides that, as our other panelists mentioned, we are currently already working on an industrial IoT based solution for our complete process plant. So we are doing that already, and it's almost 70-80% complete. And because of the lockdown, we had to soft pedal it. And I think within a month or so, we would be able to complete the balance work. That's the target. With that, what will happen is that the manual reporting, which was happening after each shift or during the shift, and escalations which were happening, will get minimized, because now you would have a clear view of not just operations, but also maintenance issues which will be available for the entire site, not just about a specific piece of equipment, but for the entire site. That's something which we are working out aggressively and will be done. Another point which I just want to also highlight is in the same context that we are setting up a smart warehouse wherein using kind of robotics, shuttle-based systems, we would be able to handle material flow without human intervention. The human just needs to operate a tablet, and everything else will be operated using a shuttle, so to say. These are 4-5 key priorities which we are currently working on.
Great, great. In fact, Atul, once you would say the first priority, which was on the camera and actually putting some kind of AR to see that people have a physical
Yeah.
distance between each other. So
Yeah.
again, the question from Mr. Bimal Puri asking you specifically, Atul,
Yeah.
how are you ensuring camera positioning towards people are working?
So what we were doing, as I said, no, we have just tied up with the company because currently what we are doing is we are looking at the video streams to figure out whether it is actually capturing the target spots or not. So that's something which is the most fundamental thing. So that's something which we are doing, and wherever we find that no, there is a need to supplement or add some more cameras, that will happen. But again, I would also like to highlight, especially in some sections of our plant which qualify under hazardous areas, which means that no, you can't just put out any normal camera. So they have to be certified for use in hazardous areas. There are zones which are defined for no, zone 2A, 2B, wherein you always have some kind of inflammable mixture available. So you have to be very particular about which kind of equipments are placed during in those setups. So we are in that phase wherein we are identifying that no, which all areas we need to add more cameras, or maybe if the camera quality is not up to the mark and we are unable to segregate and define, then we would be replacing them as well. So it's an experiment of sorts, because otherwise, no, today, given the cash and liquidity situation of most organizations, doing a rip and replace of everything, it's not practical. So we'll also have to prioritize our battle. We have issues to sort. Likewise, I just want to add that what we have started, we have just placed an order for an intelligent AI-based device, which will, and it is not a thermopile-based temperature measurement, which most of us would do. And I give you an example, and it will be for other panelists and also participants. Most of the guns which are available for temperature measurements, no, you would find them, they are all thermopile based sensors, and the accuracy level is plus minus 3 degrees. So which means that no, if an individual has a temperature of 99, it might as well show it as 96, or it might as well show it as 102, which is a very wide band. It's like a 6-degree band which is there, plus minus 3 degrees. So it is, I would, in many cases, it becomes an eye wash, so to say, having those kind of handheld devices and measuring the temperature and then asking individuals to go through that screening. So what we have now done is we are setting up a thermography based temperature measurement setup. We are starting with our head office, and we had the installation provision reviewed today, and we have already placed the order. So this is an AI based thermography based temperature measurement, which will alert and give you an accuracy of plus minus 0.2 degrees for a night, which in itself is reasonable, so to say. So these are all initiatives now, because we'll also have to figure out what battles we have to fight now, what we can do later, and I would say for IT there is much work, and it's interesting time, so to say.
Yeah, that's obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. Anand, I would like you to touch upon your strategy and plans for integrating entire end-to-end value chain, which may be your purchase, logistics, sales, treasury, and what are your plans for that?
So so it is pretty much the value chain is automated in silos, but it's not connected. For example, the supply chain piece, the manufacturing piece, the core systems, the service, the dealer portal, the IT, they are all in place. But the plan now has become more critical to let them talk on a real-time basis. So that is the thing where we are going to, because there are different systems, different technologies, which is there. And I am working to make sure, so there was already a plan, to kind of link it in a real time with the systems rather than having in a batch kind of communication. So now that we have realized the need to do that. So this is something which we'll be working on, and make sure that the integration, the complete value chain from the supplier to the final customer site and having to the aftermarket is completely seamlessly connected. So that is a plan
Okay.
to make sure my CRM connects seamless to the ERP, my supply portal connects, my dealer portal also connects. Dealer portal is connected to my ERP, and there's a mobility app is also there. So there are bits and pieces. So it's basically, there are a lot of moving pieces here and there, and we have to make sure they are all in the same line. And my opinion, if the funding is fine and business goes back to normal, by middle of next year, we should be good enough to do that.
Okay. Thanks. Suresh, I understand that definitely there will be management directives for cost reduction. Okay.
Sorry. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, Prasenjit?
Yeah. The question is like there definitely would be management directives for cost reduction in your business.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is a question being asked by Mr. Chandrasekhar Jakula. What he's asking you is, apart from providing IT service to business users, how IT can contribute to organization in reducing their cost, and how IT can improve business processes to help business users in this situation.
Okay. So I'm going to connect both your questions.
Yeah.
Prasenjit. The first thing was about cost reduction. Now IT is itself under pressure. That much I can assure you. I think the organization is under pressure thanks to the fact, as I mentioned, because of the season. So there is an urgent need for us all to revisit us. And frankly speaking, I don't see it as a negative. I think it's every now and then IT does need to go back into its cost structure and see whether everything is optimally done. Or is there any further efficiencies you could get, or maybe through better negotiations, maybe the prices may have dropped. So it gives you a perfect opportunity to assess it. So that's one exercise which we are doing anyhow. And we do see certain opportunities for us to rationalize. And part of it also involves moving away from an AMC-based model to a subscription-based model, which makes it more flexible as well, rather than having a fixed cost embedded. So quite a few things which are being done by the team here in terms of that. Now coming to the business is under similar pressure. Okay. I think it's overall at an org level, we are trying to reduce costs overall. So there is going to be significant pressure on the business to reduce a lot of things. So what was a luxury is no longer going to be there. Okay. And many of the areas which are fundamentally manual, I think there is going to be a shift towards digitalization in those areas. And we are seeing many such roles getting revised. So many of the roles are going to shift towards frontline roles. It will be more of sales and service, anything which yields revenue. So there is going to be opportunities for many people who are working in the back end to move towards that. But then what happens to the back end things? And that's where I think we'll be able to make a significant shift in automating many of it. We are already seeing a lot of things coming our way. Of course, the question is how do we prioritize it? So that's something which we are doing. But we do believe that not only while we are doing this at the back end, on the front end, as I already mentioned, a lot of things are going to change. Okay. We are already seeing a lot of changes in how we do services. I think Anand did mention a few of those things, but I think some of the areas which we are trying to address there is, can we do better loading of our technicians, for example? You know, we were used to having a dealer-centric model where a dealer assigns which technician goes where, but now we are trying to see how do I make them more efficient. So instead of a dealer doing 2 or 3 calls, can I make him do 4 calls? So those things can definitely happen through an intelligent assignment of the technician rather than a manual way of doing things. Because the system can definitely apply certain machine learning or artificial, whatever you want to call it, and come to a conclusion that if I were to localize a technician within a certain area, I may be able to avoid traveling time and therefore get more calls done. So many such areas are coming up for us, which are fundamentally going to transform the way businesses operate. So in their own cost cutting initiatives, they are already turning to us to automate some of these areas. And when they are transforming some of the people and moving them to the front end, the back end is where we are also seeing a lot of significant automation opportunities. Okay. So it's good and it is bad. I won't say it is great, because we do see the cost pressure coming up in a way in terms of how much of these we can truly do.
Suresh, you may want to reimagine the service business like the Uber kind of business.
Correct.
You know, for example, you have the system allocating the drivers to the passengers.
Absolutely.
And both giving feedback to each other. So while the salary of the technician could be paid by some other organization, Blue Star kind of coordinates this whole thing, the system.
Correct. So Ranjan, that's what we do. the dealers don't use their own systems. It's all given by Blue Star. So not only are we going to provide what you just mentioned, that's what I meant by intelligent assignment of those tickets, but we are also looking at how do I reduce the service call itself. See, there are, I mean, at the end of the day, I may have only some certain number of product types sitting there, but because of a pan-India operation, not everybody may be knowing what the problem is or what the solution is. So we are trying to even bring that visibility to those those technicians, such that if he's able to punch in a problem statement, and based on the product which is being serviced, we should be able to guide him through a wizard in terms of what he should do. So again, that's intent is to reduce the call and improve customer satisfaction, something which is on the works.
Yeah, one more thing you might already be doing it could be the command center concept. So
True.
I mean, all of you have talked about the IoTs and the boardroom. So reducing the distance between the boardroom and the IoT-based system. Similarly, on your services or your assets which are deployed pan-India.
Correct. So Ranjan, I invite you and Prasenjit to my Thane office once the lockdown is lifted.
Okay, done.
Happy to show you what we have done on this front.
Thanks. So, in fact, the next question was to Ranjan only.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that. Ranjan, after all these discussions, would like to bring, or I would like you to share how team computers can help the manufacturing industries with solutions relevant during this transformation phase of theirs.
Yeah, so, I was looking at my own picture and I can still see some fat hair. It's a tight shirt. But,
I think Ranjan, sorry, some is an understatement.
Okay. So, coming back to, all kinds of fat. Today, the CFOs, CEOs are going to be driving. They want to take fat, not touch the muscle or the bone, but remove the fat from the system. Now, fat could be processed fat. It could be people fat. Now, one of our oldest businesses, AMCs. So, abhi tak kya ho raha tha? People used to tell, boss, I need cost 30% lower in a maintenance contract or a managed services, but give me the same number of people. So that I find is going away. Now we're telling customers, boss, we are doing it remotely out of a command center. We'll give you your 30, 40, 50% reduction. But give us the freedom, give us the movement. Why do you want a person on site? For once, people do not want engineers on site. In fact, we had a client in Mumbai, an engineer, his wife was just detected, he lost his wife and must have got exposed somewhere. He's fine. Now, people do not want our engineers for the first time. So far, it was always X number of people there, and then we have to pay them a certain amount. So productivity now matters, and we are able to offer. So while we help our customers build command centers for their processes, IoT or whatever, we are also. So the other big way, which we are also doing internally is RPAs. So far RPA was a nice to do. Now it's become a must to do. If I can, my AP, my AR, accounts and finance and inventory, and there are just so many HR, we are using RPA like crazy. And he talked about Python, so whether we use Python, we use a standard, Anacage, Unipath, whatever is available in the market, or we build our own, and we've done both. We're taking all the approaches, and I am like a maniac on RPA right now, and I'm saying, okay, let's put it everywhere. I want human beings, and increasingly, I guess everybody, to focus on thinking, imagining, high-end strategy. The big shift, I think now it will happen. I've been wanting it to happen for a long time, is to move away from doing to just being. Doing mein kya hota hai na? We want people to be, arey, kaam kar raha hai ki nahi? We want people to show up for 8 hours or 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Now the focus is on the output, on productivity, which is output divided by input. Do I really care you work 4 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours? Sometimes people work 14 hours a day. You spend more time with your family, you break your day into multiple. Our attendance app, which we built many years ago, was work anywhere, anytime. Geo-coded, it works. Now, even I as a CEO was scared of deploying it. कि अरे क्या कैसे चालू होगा, how will people, now business is saying what we don't know, like our Delhi office, we are sitting in our Delhi office today, it's open, but not more than 20-25% attendance, and we are not pushing anybody. We are saying work from wherever you think it works best. We want output. The focus is on the output. We can help our customers get a better output from standard stuff, AMCs, managed services, contracts, spares, devices. So the other big thing is device as a service. 2 years we've been thinking about talking. We've been talking about device as a service. Aap khareed kyun rahe ho? We'll give you the device you want for the period you want. The price almost at what you want. You don't have to. Now it's happening. It's happened in thousands. People have in all sectors. They've now said, fine, this makes sense. You manage it. It's owned by you. Our people will use it. You want to change it in between, it's fine. So device as a service is very big. Printing as a service, almost everything as a service is now happening. Sure. We talked about command centers. So command center as a service, that's happening. We got our first 2 customers with IoT based stuff. They said, हम लोग पैसा नहीं डालेंगे IoT में in automation. आप करो, आप मेरे को service fee charge कर लो. So we said, can we charge you per device? They said, नहीं. Charge us a fixed amount every month. हमने कहा ठीक है, वो कर लेंगे. So these things which we were wanting to do for 2 to 3 years, today customers are telling us, boss, ye karo ye.
So all those 5 years long-term strategy has actually shrink now.
Yeah.
Suresh, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add something to what Ranjan was saying. Printing as a service, which is where it struck a chord. All along, for all these years, printing was a very critical part of IT services. Everything had to be printed. You name it, that printer was the most critical equipment after the laptop as far as IT was concerned, right? I'm sure everybody must be familiar with this. Printer nahi chal raha hai, chillam chili ho rahi hai, invoice print nahi hoga, and all those kind of things will keep coming up. But in the last 2 months, printing has actually, the situation has resulted in more of digital prints than anything else. So many things which earlier used to be a physical copy have now become digital. Yes. And I do believe that's going to really transform and perhaps have an impact on the environment as well. That means less printing. So, sometimes an event like this forces you to change the rules as well.
Yeah. Right.
Can I add? I think I want to add, Prasenjit. Right.
Please.
So, we are talking about ransomware. We are talking about malware, anti-malware. I think the biggest ransomware which I have seen as a human for the whole humanity race is COVID. Okay, till such time. No, it has held everybody. It's just locked down everybody, and now all of us have been locked down. And when we talk about strategy, doing the greatest of things, I think we also have to look at the mindset of the employees.
Right.
To tell you the truth, most employees and their families are under much fear. Okay, either fear of the virus itself, fear of losing their increments, fear of losing their perks, fear of losing their identity, and maybe fear of losing themselves or the nearest and dearest ones today. That's their highest priority. Okay, I think I'm not. We need to be frank. Okay, and candid. So my sincere request within the enterprise and what we do is, and what I would like to highlight here is, I think first of all we have to condition our team to come out of that fear. We have to sit with them. We have to counsel them. We have to engage with them very closely. Okay. To make sure, and it is not just a superficial thing that no, we are together, we are there as a team, dear team, let's do this, let's do that. It's not about that. It's about the real thing, getting into their family issues, getting into what are they facing any issues, are they facing any problems. So I think those we have to get emotionally engaged. It's not just about professional engagement anymore. That will not give us outcomes. That will not give us any outcome. I'm telling you, it will all be so superficial, I must say. Today we have to get into their hearts. We have to get that connection that yes, we are all together in this crisis. Then only we would be able to do anything of sorts. Otherwise, I'm telling you, either good people may not continue, or they may not be physically fit enough to continue. I'm just trying to be, no, I may be too no upfront, but so be it. But the fact is, no, today it's very important for the enterprise, for the owners, and all for the leaders, seniors, to engage with their team members to tell them that no, yes, we are all together. I think that's my point.
You are absolutely right, Atul, what you say. That's the truth. Okay. Ranjan, I think we all are discussing that during this period, cash flow issues is everywhere. Okay. People are looking to see that how cash is flowing inside the organization. How do they become more cash surplus in the organization? Okay. Do you think that CIO should adapt to leasing and OPEX models and hence help their organization to invest capital in the core business rather than IT?
I think this is a no-brainer. There are financial services companies. This is the core business of leasing or renting out assets, and along with them, this is a no-brainer. And today, everything, network. You want networking devices, software, a combination of notebooks, phones, whatever. It doesn't matter. Everybody today runs a financial services company. Besides our big banks, and we've seen a movement there, and I'm sure everyone is looking at it. If you go to a CFO today and say, I have this mega capex expense, they're not going to favorably look at it. So, and we'll be very happy to work. This is a no-brainer, and I'm seeing a kind of a 10x kind of a growth in the interest levels.
Yeah.
So entire payout can.
And I want to, Atul, I want to respond. Can I take that, Atul, what he said?
Yeah, definitely.
So, Atul, that was one of the things I wanted to be starting today. Today is actually the first day. This is a health shot. Now, I've been taking this health shot for the last 5 years, every morning. Now, what is this? This is essentially beetroot, kacha haldi. Now, this looks like ginger, but this is kacha haldi. Beetroot, kacha haldi. It's carrots, it's pomegranates, it's lemon, it's amla. Now, you talked about fit rehna hai. I know the emotional part is very important. We also need to get our immunity up there.
Yeah.
Haldi is the best thing. So starting today, Kula has started supplying these health shots. Everyone who comes into the office of, let's say this is a Delhi office today. So the last 2 weeks, he's been getting a vitamin C shot. So you are not allowed to enter before you take the vitamin C. Because I tried politely telling everyone, tumne vitamin D liya, nahi liya, C liya, nahi liya. So once in 10 days, they get a vitamin D shot. And it's marked. There's a calendar with a security guard. And there's a vitamin C which started 2 weeks ago. Today, we've started this health shots. We are buying it from Kula, and at least the NCR region, I want Kula to supply. This is made fresh and to be consumed within 2 hours of making. Tabhi iski potency rehti hai. Now you can get started in your factories. I'll be happy to, kind of share how to do it. Someone can come. It's a mixer. And, this is full of all the stuff you need for our people need to be fit.
Yeah.
And, beyond, the fear, we need, therefore, COVID, till herd immunity comes in or the vaccine comes in, we are all exposed.
Yeah.
And we are like maniacs. I'm removing the handles from the doors so that people don't touch. They use their shoulders to open. Sanitizers everywhere. In spite of that, this fear is always going to be there. And so we need to get fitter. And I'll be happy to take up this. Prasenjit will kind of connect with you. Any of you need any support, supplies, we'll be happy to do that.
Sure.
So,
in fact, we started the fresh salad boxes for many CIOs.
That was the other thing. Now, salad, we don't take enough greens. Greens is what has the minerals. Zinc and magnesium are very important for immunity. Okay, and we need to cut sugar. So, any form of sugar is bad for immunity, and we need to cut that. So, these things I found, itna bhi educate kar lo, utna kam hai. So, we are forcing, I've kind of started using my authority and I'm saying, अंदर ऑफिस के नहीं मिलेगा जब तक आप ये लोगे नहीं. So
Yeah. Good.
So the new normal is faster, more agile, more digital, more collaborative, more strategic, more connected, more trust, and a lower TCO. Can we achieve this? The answer is definitely yes. Okay, we all are there working in this IT ecosystem where we'll be helping each other to achieve this new normal. So thanking all the panelists for sparing your valuable time and sharing your insights here. Thanking all delegates for your participation. Hope you have been able to generate value for the time you invested today. We shall be conducting such webinar series in forthcoming days and hence will solicit your participation. You will receive a feedback form. Please fill and send it back to us. Please stay safe, stay fit, stay positive. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys. Thanks.
The books will
Bye.
come away. So enjoy the books.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.